right in the middle, the chat with this 44 messages. Please, at any point, add a question, add a comment, and use that to communicate. So as the numbers move up, I'd like to introduce Mark Hawkins. I don't know if we can see Mark, but I'd like to introduce Mark, who will begin the session and provide the overview and take us into the main event. So without much further ado, Mark Hawkins, please.
Okay, everyone. Sorry, my Zoom stopped and restarted then, so I guess you were waiting for me. Can people hear me? I can't actually see the chat at the moment. Could someone just confirm that I can be heard?
We can hear you loud and clear, Mark. So I just gave a quick introduction, and if you can take it from there. And just to let everybody know, we're recording the webinar from now on, and we'll make the recording available as well as all the PowerPoints and all the presentations and information after the event. So thanks, Mark.
Okay, great. Thanks very much for that, James. James mentioned, I've been asked if I can moderate this event. So I will do my best to keep people on time and to keep time available for questions and answers. Just a welcome from me as well. The Marseille World Conservation Congress didn't happen in June, and so we weren't able to meet there. There would have been a large Green List event, or a series of them, had we been together in Marseille. But the fact that Marseille was cancelled or postponed hasn't meant that progress with the Green List has stopped, and activities have continued around the world, and we'll learn something about those tonight. One of the things that struck me is how the Green List is being applied in many ways that we didn't envisage when we first started on this journey of developing a Green List. In much the same way as the IUCN protected area categories started with one purpose in mind, and while that's continued, in fact, they've been used in many other ways. And so it's interesting to see how that's developing with the Green List. The first session we'll have tonight is a series of 4 presentations. James, can you bring up that slide that you had with the program? It's not at least showing for me at the moment. The first session is a series of 4 presentations that'll give you an overview and introduction to the Green List and how it's designed to help ensure effective conservation outcomes. So that'll be, first of all, we'll hear from James Hardcastle on an introduction. Nadine will provide an overview of the Green List. Nadine Salim. Joanne Wilson, who's a member of the Standards Committee, will introduce the standard very briefly. And Etienne from ASI will talk about the assurance process. So that should take about a half an hour. And then we'll have a short question and answer session. That will be followed by a series of 8 case studies from around the world, giving you some flavour of the way in which the Green List is being applied, what's been happening globally, and then we'll finish with a question and answer session. So that's the program. The Zoom is being controlled out of Switzerland, so I'll hand over, if we can now introduce James and his presentation. James, you have 5 minutes to give us a quick introduction to the Green List.
Thank you very much, Mark. So I'm James Hardcastle. I'm with the IUCN Global Protected Areas Program. Been working on the Green List since I joined IUCN 8 years ago, where I picked up the existing program, existing efforts that had been developed by the IUCN World Commission on Protected Areas, in particular Professor Mark Hawkins and others, and have helped try and develop this program from the IUCN perspective ever since. So Nadine, please could you, so Nadine Salim is presenting this with me. Nadine, please could you introduce yourself?
Yes, hello everyone, and good morning or good evening, depending on where you are. So I'm Nadine Salim. I work with James and Devaya as well, whom you may know from IUCN headquarters in the Global Protected Areas Program, and I work mostly on implementation. So I support Green List implementation as well as communications on a global level. Thank you.
Okay, so if we could move to the first set of slides, that would be great.
Sure. So this is the first session outline of the first half of the webinar. So to talk about what is the Green List, the implementation process, the standard, and the assurance process as well. So let's start. James?
Yeah, sure. So the mission of the IUCN Green List is not just about recognizing through a list of what's working or having a kind of an award ceremony. It's really about trying to get under the skin of what makes area-based conservation, so protected and conserved areas, what makes them fair and effective and delivering the results that we expect of them. And the mission of the Green List is to really help increase the number and the coverage of quality protected areas. So in trying to strengthen our protected areas, the key at the heart of the IUCN Green List is not the list, it's a standard that we have developed that collectively describes at a global level what constitutes effective conservation in the 21st century. And once we have this standard in place, we can use that to measure fairness and effectiveness and to help guide good results from our protected and conserved areas worldwide. One of the key objectives of the Green List as well is about connection. It's not about IUCN here in Switzerland providing you know, a global recognition or trying to evaluate what works or not. It's really about introducing through the standard and the program a means for local voices, local expertise, local perspectives to contribute and to help decide, diagnose and evaluate what success looks like at the local level. So we really aim to facilitate collaboration and investment from a global community to really connect local practice and ensure that we can support improved equity and effectiveness in the sites that join the IUCN Green List program and use the standard. So we have been operating the IUCN Green List since our World Conservation Congress in Jeju in Korea in 2012. That's when we really kicked it off in earnest through a pilot phase, which then culminated in 2014 with the first foray into the green listing. Since that time, we've been relatively cautious in terms of the listing. We have 47 certified candidates from across 14 countries. But the real important figure, when you think about, we're not just trying to recognize, we're trying to improve. We have more than 500 candidate sites from more than 50 countries. And through the process, we're engaging more than 1,000 site staff worldwide. So it's still early days. We're still a new program, but we're growing and we have a vision of scale. EAGLES, this is a word you'll hear during the day. EAGLES are the jurisdictional, the national, the country or regional expert bodies who implement the Green List on behalf of IUCN. They are the expert evaluators. And we have 300 experts actively engaged in an evaluation cycle for participating protected areas around the world. And again, the IUCN is the global union. We're a network of conservation agencies, both states and non-governmental, indigenous peoples. And the Green List is implemented through our partnership and through our members. And so we have at present 33 partner organizations who are directly involved in the implementation of the Green List standard and program. We have, at the global level, we have a governance system for the Green List. We have 3 committees, a management committee, an overall global panel, and a standards committee, which has 35 members from around the world. And the Green List is implemented jointly by IUCN's Global Protected Areas Program and the World Commission on Protected Areas, but also the other commissions of IUCN are involved. And key to the Green List is it is voluntary, it's a voluntary commitment, and it's operating through the commitments from our partners and from donor agencies and investors as well, such as European Commission, the German International Climate Initiative of the BMU, the Gordon Betty Moore Foundation, Ministry of Environment of Korea, among others, are supporting us through various projects. And again, the idea is to really support the protected areas, not to support a Green List program. And so we are really trying to position the Green List as something that can bring new and additional attention and resources to protected and conserved areas. The IUCN Green List, the standard and the program, is really hooked and tied and stems from international policy commitments, principally the United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity decision and its Aichi targets around area-based conservation, which, as you can see on the screen, there was a spatial element of 17% terrestrial, 10% marine. But then what we're really interested are the kind of the weaker elements globally, which are the quality elements, the conservation through effectively and actively managed, ecologically representative, well-connected systems of protected areas and other effective area-based conservation measures. So the Green List is really targeted at trying to implement this element of the global targets. We had a decision from the Convention on Biological Diversity event in Mexico in 2016, promoting the IUCN Green List. And we're very much looking at positioning the IUCN Green List standard as something that could be useful by parties to the Convention on Biological Diversity in the forthcoming post-2020 framework that will be put in place at the CBD COP event in China early next year. So I'll hand over to Nadine to also make the link for the global sustainability goals, and then to take us through some of the details of the program itself.
Sure.
Thanks, Nadine.
Thank you, James. All right, so here, as you can see on the screen, is how IUCN, three key pillars of its mission, which is to value and conserve nature, to support effective and equitable governance of natural resources, and to deploy natural-based solution align with the SDGs, or the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And likewise, the Green List really lends itself to this mission very well, because it does exactly that. As James was saying, it is a mechanism to promote and support fair and effective conservation, area-based conservation. It addresses societal challenges as well as values the conservation of nature. So this is how it really implements the SDGs, and actually overall the standard, the IUCN Green List standard itself, also is quite aligned with the global goals and the global targets of the SDGs. So we talk a lot about the standard, but how is it structured? And this is a key question, because this structure or this logic is what defines how the process goes locally as well as globally. The standard itself, or the logic behind it, is that good governance and social and sound design and planning and effective management, all of these key pillar elements that should be present in a protected area, will lead to successful conservation outcomes. And likewise, these are the key four components of the standard. These are the components that structure the standard. And this is just to give you a little bit of the 17 criteria and indicator, which my colleague from Australia, Joe Wilson, will go into more details in a minute. So we talk about the standard, and to implement the standard, we really rely on two things, starting off with the EAGLES, as James had mentioned. So there are three key things about the EAGLES themselves. They are convened and trained locally. So we have experts or EAGLES that implement on a local national level or regional level, or sometimes even on a jurisdictional level, like for example, in the case of California. They're also responsible for adapting the standard to the local context. So the standard itself is global, it's meant for universal application, but it also allows for adaptation, which the Eagles are responsible to do. And also for you to know that because it is meant for universal application, it ends up that less than 10% of the standard itself gets adopted usually. And the last role of the expert assessment group of the Eagles is to evaluate sites and to recommend them for green listing when ready, as well as give them recommendations. So that was the first part. The second part that we rely on for a smooth process for green listing is the assurance, validation, and credibility. And this happens through, first and foremost, our user manual. So the Green List user manual, which accompanies the standard itself, which has all of the rules of the process and describes who does what in the whole program. But also because the standard follows the ICL credibility principles, as well as ASI, our Accreditation Services International, our assurance partner, making sure that that the process goes according to the user manual globally. And once again, our colleague Etienne from ASI will speak into that shortly. So one of the key features of the Green List standard, or the three main key features of it really, are the fact that it's globally consistent and locally relevant, as we have just said. It depends on local implementation and evaluation as well as independent review to uphold the credibility of it, as well as the fact that it's based on IUCN best practices and knowledge products. And here we can get into a little bit more information, just to say that it really doesn't conflict with any of the other tools that you might know or might have heard about. If anything, it's cross-cutting. And actually, by applying those tools, you help yourself as an area, as a site, to get green listed. James, would you like to add anything here?
No, just to say, I think that in the context of management effectiveness, there's been a series of events in recent weeks. Many of you would be familiar with the management effectiveness tracking tool, and there's other methodologies out there in different countries, different places. I think the key point and a key question we're asked quite often is, how is the Green List different from these assessment tools? And the response is twofold. One is that these assessment tools the results of these tools will align to the Green List standard, so you can benchmark your progress against the criterion indicators of the Green List. And secondly, that the Green List process offers you validation and verification of the results of these. So it'll make these assessments more robust. So we'll present in a minute, but the Green List takes you through an evaluation cycle from self-assessment through to a full evaluation. So the tools are at the heart of the Green List. Using these tools will help you measure progress against the Green List standard.
Thank you, James. All right. Moving on, so just to explain a little bit about the setup. So the setup usually starts at a national or jurisdictional level from voluntary commitments before a local site starts to implement. And then the expert group, the Eagles, are convened, trained, and accredited by the Green List, by IUCN. They adopt the standard in the next step. They adopt the standard when needed. They put it up for public consultation, and the approved version then goes to the sites that start implementing. So there is it starts by site's commitment, self-assessment, stakeholder engagement, and then the Eagle site visit and evaluation. And just to explain on the site implementation a little bit more, or the implementation and evaluation cycle. So once again, it starts by self-assessment by the site manager and staff according to the standard and its indicators and criteria. Then they consult with local stakeholders and the local community and whoever has interest in the site activities. Afterwards, it is evaluated by our Eagles through, of course, the support of evidence that the sites have provided. And then it goes through a review and a site visit. So the Eagles conduct a site visit, and then all of this process is reviewed by an independent reviewer from our assurance partner. And lastly, it goes through the validation and the green listing of the site. So these assessments, obviously, they rely on the evidence and the type of proofs that the sites meet. And throughout all of this, there's a continuation of progress and a feedback loop, sort of, through recommendations given to the site by the experts and the committees, and throughout the whole process to keep the progress, to keep the flow of improvement going on. Now, one question that we get a lot is also, how do we manage all of this information and the evidences, and where is it stored? And just for background, we have a cloud-based data platform that we call Compass, in which we store all of the information about the sites, all of their evidences, all of their progress, did the Eagle evaluate them or not, any comments from the committees, and so on. We're also in sync, of course, with Protected Planet, and the World Database of Protected Areas, which is a joint venture between the UN, UNEP, WCMC, and IUCN. And lastly, at the moment, we are developing a website. Actually, it's online at the moment, IUCNgreenlist.org, but it is in beta phase. And it will also have site profiles and will contain the most important information about them. So this is really what we do with the information and the evidences that we get. Okay, so to wrap up this overview of green listing, let's just give a moment, take a moment to talk about the values of green listing and really what it does. So it starts with, first of all, the validation of site level progress by independent experts. It leverages different approaches and different tools and encourages investments. It enhances communication for protected and conserved area successes on a global level. So we really like the phrase globally consistent and locally relevant, and we try to apply that throughout the whole process, from implementation to communication. So really giving a platform for these local successes to shine. It also helps the sites achieve global recognition and contributes to the global sustainability goals as well. It also, the sites, they become part of a global community of protected and conserved area practitioners, which all help in the peer-to-peer exchange and capacity development. James, would you like to add any final words on that?
No, again, just to really add that this is a program in development. Would be interested to get your questions. Please write them on the side in the panel. I can see coming in some already. Yeah, there's several. The values here are all important, and there's others that are being shared by our community, and we're going to hear some of these later in the session. We'll hear from our partners in various countries, various places. For me, one of the values really important of the Green List is that extra validation. It is the quality assurance that it'll bring, and we'll hear from some of that from Etienne. One of the other principles of the Green List is to try and keep it as cost effective as possible, and to really build on existing processes, existing assessments, existing work that protected and conserved areas are already doing.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And this is it for the first part, for the first overview of the Green List. Now I give it up to Joanne Wilson from Australia to really take us through the standard. Joanne, can you share your screen?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I thought it might. You might have it there.
I do.
Just a moment.
Actually,
yeah, it's easier if you do it. Yeah.
Sorry. 1 second. There it is. Perfect. So I'll let you present and I'll just keep moving along the slides when you tell me.
Yeah, no problem.
All right.
I haven't got it
Can you see my screen?
yet. Not yet. Anyway, while we're waiting, thank you, Nadine. My name's Joanne Wilson, and I work for the New South Wales National Parks and Wildlife Service. Sorry, I just can't see that presentation yet, Nadine. I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional owners, First Nations people or Indigenous custodians of all the lands on which we meet today, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. And I think recognising how important it is to work with our traditional custodians to respect and incorporate their knowledge in conservation and land management is a great way of putting that into practice. Great. I can see my presentation now. That's excellent. Thanks very much. So I just wanted to go through really quickly. You can go to the next slide, Nadine. A bit of a very quick overview of the Green List standard, which is available on the Green List website, which really provides the mechanism by which sites can demonstrate how they meet these global standards for conservation. The standard, as we've been discussing earlier, is, sorry, that next slide just hasn't come up yet for me, but maybe I'm on a delay. How's it going your end, Nadine?
I am sharing it. I don't understand. Can you not see it? The overview one.
The first one, yeah. Can you? Other people are saying.
1 second, then I'll stop.
The slideshow hasn't started.
Okay, then I'll start sharing again. Can you see it now?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, if you just go back to the one just before that. Yeah, great. That's perfect. So as Nadine and James were saying, the standard is universally applicable to all protected area sites in the world and to terrestrial and marine sites, and can be adapted to that local context. And sites must show how they meet the standard, but can use locally relevant evidence and documentation. In addition to using the standard as a way to apply to become on the Green List site, any protected area can use the standard as a guide for improved protected area management. So it's freely available on the website and can be used by anybody. Next slide, Nadine. So as Nadine showed, there are 4 major components to the standard, and across those components there are 17 criteria and then 50 indicators. So the 4 main components are good governance, so ensuring that there are rules, regulations, local guidance about those protected areas, and that they are applied fairly and equitably and allow for communities to be engaged. Sound design and planning, understanding your protected area, its values and the threats and challenges there. Effective management includes indicators that are around long-term and sustainable management of your conservation values within the socioeconomic context of the area, and this is where a lot of the application for equitable management comes in. And if we are achieving all of those things, hopefully that will lead to successful conservation outcomes. And it's very important in the Green List to demonstrate that you are achieving successful conservation outcomes for your major natural values and your associated ecosystem service and cultural values. Thanks, Nadine. So when you have a look within the Green List standard documentation, there is guidance for each of those criteria. So this is in component 2, sound design and planning, and it will outline each of those criteria and give a bit of a description of what each of those means. Drilling down further into each of those criteria, there will be a number of indicators that are associated with those criteria, you know, ranging from 2 to 7 or 8 different indicators. Okay, next slide. So the Green List standard, I would say, is quite challenging, but it is designed to be achievable by all protected areas that are implementing good management. One of the criteria that a lot of protected areas find quite challenging is the measuring success. We tend to put a lot of effort into our management and governance, and while a lot of protected areas actually do undertake a monitoring of their natural values, what is relatively new for many protected areas is actually setting up. Oops. Sorry.
Sorry, could everyone please mute if you're not the presenter? Thank you.
Sorry. What a lot of protected areas is new for a lot of protected areas is to actually develop up performance measures for your major site values to indicate successful protection and thresholds of those values for your natural values to assess if your conservation goals have been achieved. And the Green List Standards Committee is putting together some additional guidance on how to do that. That will be out quite soon. Thanks, Nadine. I think we're close to the end. So I just wanted to go through a little bit about the Green List Standard Committee. It is a very important part of the Green List program and the governance of the Green List program. It is co-chaired by Dr. Stephen Woodley and Sandra Valenzuela, who weren't able to be here tonight. The role of the Standards Committee is to develop and review the standard, approve adaptations for local jurisdictions, and provide guidance on the application of the standards. For example, the application to a multi-site or a network. The standard was initially approved by the IUCN Council in November 2017 and is due for review before the next 5-year period is up, which is November 2022. And for more information and for a copy of the standard, have a look at the Green List website, or there is a general Green List email. Thanks, Nadine. And that's it from me, the very quick overview. Thanks.
Okay, thanks very much, Joe. So we will have, there are a number of questions coming up. Some of those are being answered now on the question and answer pod or in the chat. We'll continue to do that as we can. We're running a little behind time, so I'll move straight on and ask Etienne Couzon from Accreditation Services International, if he can give us a quick introduction to the Green List assurance process. And Nadine, if you could either hand over sharing to Etienne or do the same yourself, control it again. Thanks very much. Over to you, Etienne.
Etienne, you should probably be able to start sharing your screen right now.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much, Nadine, James, and Mark, for
If you could put your video on as well. We've had a problem with the video, but it should work now. Etienne, try your video too.
It tells me I can't use video, so.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, and it also says that the host disabled participant screen sharing, so looks like I may not be able to share my screen.
It's okay. I'll start sharing the screen then.
Okay. Okay. Okay, good. So thank you very much, James, Mark, Nadine, and everyone. Good morning, afternoon, evening for all those who are joining. My name is Etienne Kuzong. I am Senior Assessor at ASI Assurance Service International based in Bonn. We actually provide assurance services for voluntary certification schemes in the sustainability sector. So I'm just going to present very rapidly about how assurance actually works in voluntary certification schemes. Nadine, please, next.
Yes, you can also start your video now.
Oh, okay. Let's see if that works. Okay, perfect. So can I also share my screen? Oh.
It's just that we actually are new to Zoom, so we're still figuring things out. So maybe
no problem. You can drive for me. Thank you very much.
We can see your screen and you. That's fine. Please just go ahead. It's great.
Oh, okay. Okay. So first, I just wanted to throw the question to others. Well, not that you answer, but when you are in your supermarket and so on, you see all these various labels and logos on products, on your coffee, your tea, your palm oil, sugar, and so on. What does it actually tell you? What do you think about them? What do they represent? You know, and the same thing, James and Nadine have provided us with an explanation of the Green List process. So the question is, how are you sure that these processes that they have talked about, all these logos, how are you sure that they actually do what they say they do? What's the assurance? What can you do to know that these are actually what they represent? So yeah, I mean, most of these organizations have voluntarily committed to improve their sustainability footprints by involving in these different schemes. And therefore, the fact that they voluntarily go into that would already tell you that it's a very high commitment to these different schemes. But again, the question still is, how do you know that they actually do what they say they do? And that's where assurance comes in. Nadine, please. Next. So yeah, we often talk about well, in movies you see FBI, NYPD, and all these police guys come there to say, oh, have you broken the law and stuff like that. It's not really the case here. With assurance, it's like a third-party confirmation of telling you more about the value and the impact that these various labels are providing, meaning that assurance actually uses a specific process or system to verify and ensure that these schemes do what they say they do, meaning that the value and the impact that they claim that they are offering to the various parties is actually what they do. So it's a third-party process. It's an independent process that verifies, are you following your rules? Are you doing what you say you're supposed to do? So this gives an additional credibility to the system, where we can always review all the different standards and be able to indicate to you that what they say they are doing is actually what they do. So you don't need to worry when you see those logos and say, oh, this is greenwashing, this is not correct. But then there is a process and a system behind to confirm and validate that. And I think James and Nadine have talked about global consistency and local, I forgot the second word, but the important thing here is about the global consistency that assurance provides. What happens in Peru, for example, may not be the same as what happens in Togo, but then with assurance, we give this look across the board to make sure that, okay, the green list, when you say this site is green listed in Togo, it's the same, at least more or less the same impact or value that it provides as a green listed site in Togo or Peru. So this global consistency is something that assurance brings on the table. And of course, the transparency, stakeholder involvement, and so on is also very important in such schemes. So assurance is something that brings this transparency, ensures that stakeholders are involved. Everybody who is supposed to be involved in the process is involved in this process. And for us at ASI, for example, we always say good intentions are not enough. We can always have good intentions, but then how do you bring those good intentions into life? ASI helps, assurance helps to indicate how these schemes bring those intentions to life. Next slide, please, Nadine. So if I could go quickly to how assurance works in the Green List system. So actually, the IUCN Green List is a very unique system, meaning that it's not business as usual kind of certification where you have ISO and an auditor coming in, looking at stuff and saying, oh, okay, this is compliant, this is not compliant, this is correct, this is not correct. It's not exactly that way in IUCN Green List. It's really a blend of the compliance and collaboration and involvement of everybody who is included in this system. Everybody contributes to ensuring that the protected areas are actually protected, that the conservation is effective. So as Nadine already presented, we have these EAGLES, which are expert assessment groups for the Green List, where they are the ones who actually do the review and evaluation of the protected areas. They actually help to adapt the standards to the country's context and stuff like that. But then how do we ensure that they are doing things correctly, that they have the relevant competence and making sure that everybody is involved? Assurance comes in by providing reviewers, so independent reviewers who look at all the requirements in the user manual followed? Did you follow the steps in site visits? Did you follow the steps in stakeholder consultation? Did you follow the steps in standard adaptation? And all of these different aspects, we look at them to make sure that IUCN says that for the Green List, this is what happens. The reviewers look into that to make sure that it's actually what is happening. And of course, you can't talk about assurance in the sustainability sector without mentioning ISEAL, which is the International Social and Environmental Accreditation and Labeling Alliance, which is some sort of an alliance that brings together all sustainability standards and initiatives to actually discuss on how can we make this whole sector credible. And ISEAL has a good number of codes of good practice, standard setting, assurance impacts, where there is a way of universally benchmarking and making sure that if you see a label that is claiming sustainability, it actually meets a certain level of credibility and assurance. So when reviewers are doing their job, there is this ISEAL code of good practice in the background, which also gives this added assurance that things are done in a good practice way. And of course, with the IUCN Green List model as well, you can always link it with other levels. So assurance exists in all these other levels like FSC, GSCC for tourism, fair trade, and so on. The Green List also connects to this somehow. For example, with the forestry ecosystem services of FSC, with GSTC, and combining these with tourism activities and so on, there is really a lot of value and other ways in which assurance can be provided to the Green List by connecting it with all these different levels that exist out there. So there's really this advantage also for making sure that assurance is a part of the Green List process. Next slide, please. So I'm just trying to link some of the assurance experiences with the situation in Africa. I am the reviewer for the African region, so I try to link my assurance experience with some of the experiences in Africa. But the first thing I'll ask myself is, and of course everybody will be asking, is why do we actually need this green list in Africa? Why add another layer of something? Well, one key thing that I always say is the value created by the green list, in the sense that it involves communities, governments, and the rest of the world. I mean, if I want to go for tourism in Madagascar, for example, knowing that the site that I'm going to visit, the safari that I'm going to is a green listed protected area, already gives me an added assurance that, okay, the management of this area is kind of better, and so on. It also helps governments to have systems to be able to demonstrate that their protected areas are well managed and stuff like that. But then for the community as well, the fact that we are living out of these forests and so on, knowing that it's well managed, involving us in this also helps to give a level of assurance for the community around these forests and so on, or protected areas. And we know that Africa is one of the most vulnerable regions with respect to climate change, and Africa is a hotspot for intact forest landscapes, where there's quite a lot of greenhouse gas mitigation through forest. And we know that about 29% of the tree stored carbon is in intact forest landscapes, of which almost 20% of the intact forest landscapes are in Africa or the tropical regions. So this plays a very big role in climate change mitigation as well, and not to talk of food and water security and stuff like that. So we need systems in Africa that will help in intact forest landscape conservation, and that has a direct impact on climate change mitigation as well. And of course, not to talk of the infrastructural challenges, governance challenges in the region. Anything that will help to improve on the transparency and governance and protection of nature in the region is always welcome or needed. Next, please. So again, from our experiences in Africa, linking it to technology, because I know that we are going into partnerships with some technology companies that would want to also help in the process in Africa. But just quickly to give a couple of examples of how technology can help support assurance and therefore improve the credibility of the green list in Africa. I will just use a couple of examples. If you think of in Ghana, for example, the Tropembos has put in place a system in which the communities themselves, they do the monitoring of the forests and the protected areas around them. So if there are any activities, anything that is going wrong in the forest, they have a system where they can take a picture or log the information in their phones and send it to a satellite-based system, which is connected now to compliance officers who can easily know that something is going wrong at this area, and then they could intervene to ensure that it doesn't get out of hand. As well as this is not only the fact that they would be reporting, but they also get compensated for this activity. So they are involved in the process, which helps to guarantee effective monitoring, but at the same time, it's also a way of getting some revenues. So it's a carrot and stick kind of system, using technology to help in nature conservation. The same, we all know about camera traps. There is a system that has been set in place by ZSL with advanced cameras that there's a real-time monitoring of any any hunting or poaching activities in some forests where they have installed these cameras. And so it helps to increase or reduce the time for reactivity in these situations. Well, next slide, please. Yeah, so that was just to give a couple of instances or situations, or just explain how assurance helps in this in nature conservation, with some examples from Africa. And yeah, thank you very much for.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Betty. Yeah. So we'll just have time for a couple of very quick questions. There's lots there. Might talk about how we can answer all of them, some of them later. But if I can just put a couple to the panel, perhaps to James. First is, do you have to achieve all of the criteria to get green listed, or can you get a high enough score on some, but not all, so that the site will qualify? You could.
This is James. I can answer that very quickly. The green list standard is not kind of like a gold standard that's so high. It's not a 10 out of 10. It's supposed to be achievable. Each of the individual criteria are supposed to be something that a protected or conserved area should be able to do, should be able to achieve. It's about doing things right, and that's, you know, kind of a solid performance. But excellence comes in meeting all of those criteria, and that is a green list protected area. And as I put in the chat, you can't justify to say, well, we've done excellent in conserving tigers, but we haven't met the good governance principles. But you know, that balances out. It doesn't. You have to meet all of the criterion to be green listed. But it doesn't mean you can't start working towards those criteria, and you can still get recognition for moving from, you know, maybe a paper park to something that has a more robust governance and management regime in place. So the green list also gives you the potential to benchmark improvements even before you reach the full green list. So we can showcase improvement just on a small scale, and that's as valuable in many cases.
Okay, thanks, James. There's also a whole lot of questions essentially around the how do you get involved? How do you make a commitment? How do you get engaged? And also the same in terms of membership of the Eagle. How is the membership of the Eagle constructed? Is it an open call? So maybe if you or Salim could take those two questions, and we might move on to the regional presentations.
Nadine, maybe?
Sorry, can you please repeat that?
So there were two, one set of questions around how does a protected area or agency, someone who's interested in participating in the list, how do they become involved? What's the process? Who do they contact, and so on? And the second one was about membership of the Eagles. How do people become a member of the Eagle? Is there an open call for membership? Is there training provided, and so on?
Yes. Thank you, Mark. So for the Eagles, there is usually an open call that is published or announced by our implementing partner in the local jurisdiction or region, and it has usually the link. It will have the link for Eagle members to apply. However, you can get in touch with us, and we can verify if, for example, the green list is being implemented where you are, then maybe you can apply for the Eagle, and we pass that on to the local implementing partner. You can get in touch with us at greenlist@iucn.org for those of you that want to know. As for sites, so usually the commitment will start from a national level. Then we will identify an implementing partner to help us convene the legal, and then afterwards, once it's convened and trained, then the sites start implementing. And usually when implementing in a new country or region, we start with a couple of pilot sites, and then afterwards we start implementing more widely. So yeah, hope that answers everyone.
Okay, thanks. As I said, there are lots more questions there. We'll see what we can do to answer all of those as we go. But if we could now move to the regional presentations, and first of all, Australia, and back to Joanne. Nadine, are you able to enable
Yes.
Joanne to share her screen, or will you bring it up?
1 second. All right, now she can start her presentation. It should be the case.
Okay, let's see.
Perfect. You can also enable your video if you would like.
Okay. All right. Hello again, everybody. I just wanted to let everybody know that I am working for the New South Wales National Parks and Wildlife Service, but I'm talking about green list sites throughout Australia. So I wanted to just acknowledge that Sherry Tanner McAllister from Queensland Parks and Kelly Raymond from Parks Victoria have also provided information for this presentation today as well. So I'll just see if I can get this to keep going. There we go. So Australia's got a very proud history of Green List, and we would probably like to claim that Green List was perhaps not born in Australia, but grew up here. So the first Green List launch was at the 2014 World Parks Congress at Sydney, and it was a really great celebratory event. This is a shot of all of the people that were involved in the New South Wales nominations for our parks that were successfully green listed that evening, and ours were the first to be announced at that event, so we have some of the first in the world to be included on the green list. So as I've mentioned, we have 3 green listed parks in New South Wales that were listed that night and have been renewed, and there's another 3 sites, 1 in Victoria and 2 in Queensland, which are candidate sites for the green list. So I'll just take you on a really quick tour of these sites in Australia, and just note how diverse these sites are in their size, in the types of habitats and ecosystems they encompass, and the management challenges that they face. So the first national park in the world to be green listed was Arakwal National Park on the far north coast of New South Wales on the east coast of Australia. It's a very small coastal park. It's just under 100 hectares, and it's right next to a very busy tourist town of Byron Bay that some of you may have heard of. It's managed by the traditional owners, the Arakwal people, who are recognised legally as the traditional owners of that land and a lot of other land surrounding there, in conjunction with the National Parks and Wildlife Service. It has very important sites, both ecologically and culturally, and these are really important for transferring the knowledge from elders to younger generations through both education and employment opportunities. Immediately adjacent to Arakwal National Park is the Cape Byron State Conservation Area. That is a real focus for tourism and recreational opportunities. There are around 2 million tourists that visit that park every year, and it's managed very carefully with facilities and programs to ensure that tourism doesn't impact on the very special cultural and natural values of that park. The third green listed site in Australia is in New South Wales, and it's called Montague Island Nature Reserve, and it's again a very small island just off the coast of southern New South Wales, where I live down here. It is a great conservation success story. It has been rehabilitated over 30 years by national parks, scientists, community groups and volunteers who have removed all of the vertebrate pests from the island, all of the rabbits and rats and goats, and replanted about 80,000 plants on the island. And it is a globally significant seabird nesting site, little penguins, shearwaters, and you can see a Gould's petrel there, very rare seabird. It's also an important site for fur seals hauling out and pupping, and very important to the regional economy. It attracts many tourists, day tourists, and also people can stay in the restored lighthouse keepers' cottages on the island, which is attracts many tourists every year. Going down to Victoria, and this is a nomination put up by Parks Victoria for the Warby Ovens National Park, which is not a particularly well-known park, but it is a very important site ecologically. It has really wonderful stands of eucalypt forests and very natural river systems and wetlands, and consequently it has very high bird diversity and a great place for visitors to go. And through the Green List, the Parks Victoria has found this as a great opportunity to engage with the local community and bring more focus and promotion to this park to attract more visitors. It's completed its candidate site and just awaiting an eagle visit to complete its nomination. So we're heading up north now, up to Western Queensland, where Queensland Parks have nominated Currawinja National Park, which is a very large, more than 300,000 hectare park in Western Queensland. It is an arid ecosystem, but it also contains very important Ramsar listed wetlands, and they're going through preparing their candidate phase responses there. Lamington National Park is also in Queensland, and it is a very iconic national park. It's perhaps one of the most famous in Queensland and very iconic in Australia. It has wonderful high biodiversity as it's part of the Gondwana rainforest, so full of subtropical rainforest ecosystems. The site visit has been completed, and the Queensland National Parks are working through some of the recommendations from the Eagle to complete their nomination. I know there's been some questions in the chat tonight about the challenges and benefits of green listing, and I can just quickly share what some of our experiences in New South Wales and Australia. We did find it difficult to gather the evidence to support those performance measures and thresholds, but as I mentioned earlier, there will be some additional guidance on how to develop those coming out soon. We don't often assess our ecosystem services in a really formal way, so that was something else that we had to incorporate in our nominations. And preparing the information for the nominations, takes a bit of time to prepare and find all of that documentation. So field teams needed some support from head office staff, such as myself, to complete those nominations. But the benefits really were in providing that recognition and a source of inspiration for local staff and managers, and I think as Nadine mentioned, providing that global context for local efforts and stories. A lot of what protected area managers do is quite amazing, but it's very easy to get bogged down in the day-to-day issues and problems, and Green List gives that great opportunity for reflection and celebration of what people do every day in that global context. It's also a really great positive news story and a way to engage your local community in something that is that's very positive. Thanks very much.
Okay, thanks very much, Joe, and good to hear those experiences from Australia. If we can now move across to Wenjia in China. And China was one of the pilot countries, along with Australia, that in the pilot phase of the Green List. Obviously, very large country with its protected area system going through quite a bit of change recently with new provisions, new regulations, and new types of protected areas. So, Wenjie, are you there? Can you share your screen and make the presentation?
Hi, Mark. I'm sorry, there must be some misunderstanding. I think Professor Li Chang will be the one to present it for China.
Sorry,
our Vice Chair. Yes.
So I was given, if we can change that to the presenter. Yep.
Hello.
Hi, are you able? We can't hear you there. Are you able to turn on your camera and start the presentation?
This is James. I'll show the slides for Professor Li. And Professor Li, if you could then present, that would be great. So please let me know, can you see Green List China progress? Professor Li, please go ahead. So just while we're waiting for Professor Li, China has been a key partner in the Green List development since 2013. They have a number of sites already green listed and a number of candidates and a very, very active expert assessment group, the EAGLE. Professor Li, could you take it away? Okay, so I will run through the presentation quickly in a couple of seconds. Is that Professor Li? Are you able to speak, please? Or Wenjia, maybe you could help here, please.
Hi, James. I just called Professor Li, so he should be like within us in a minute. But
okay.
Yeah, I can run through the first slides, and we can wait for him to come in.
Okay.
Jump
thanks,
in anytime.
Wenjia.
Yeah. Yeah. Hello. Is this Miss Liu talking? Okay. Now just go ahead, please, James. Thank you so much. So. Hello everyone, this is Montague from IUCN China, and here is the presentation from China. So as James said before, China started at the first phase of the Green List. So there were 6 sites has been green listed during the 2014. And then we have a process for the revision of the standards and adopted it into the China version of the Green List standard. And as you can see in the timeline, actually kicked off for the second time at the end of 2019. So after the 2014, we took our times to update everything, and we regrouped our EAGLE. And now we have like more than 25 EAGLE members in different areas with government officials and experts, and that could help us to conduct green list in China. Yes. Hello? Hello?
Hi.
Hi, is this Miss Liu Feng?
Yes.
Yes, I'm just introducing the first slide. Please go ahead. Please. Yeah.
Okay. So let me introduce the activities about the green list in China. In 2017, we held a training workshop on green list standards in Shenongjia National Park. And from the February to May of the 2018, we have the recruitment and the formation of the EAGLE members in China. And in the December of 2018, we had an EAGLE workshop in Changbaishan. And in November of 2018, so we had EAGLE training workshops in Hangzhou on the green list criteria. And in December of the 2019, we have an EAGLE kickoff meeting. The next slide, please.
Again, we're continuing to have problems with China, so I'll just run through quickly. So since December 2019, as you can see here, there's been an acceleration of progress, and a lot of the work has been in parallel trying to reassess the existing candidates, existing sites, to make them up to date with the current Green List standard and methods. And then also to really kind of socialize the Green List process, the Green List application guidance, and translating materials into Chinese. So the progress is really hosting webinars, really coordinating the work of the EAGLE with the candidate phase with the different sites, and really promoting communications for the Green List website, for the IUCN World Conservation Congress, but also for the upcoming Biological Diversity Congress to be held in China next year. The NFGA is the National Forest and Grassland Administration, so they are the official agency for protected areas in China. And as you can see, they've also been supporting, as an independent promoter of the Green List, supporting the green listing for areas under their jurisdiction. And as you can see, they've made several events, one in Huohe Nature Reserve, and over 50 protected areas participated. And this is an opportunity to share the Green List standard and all the associated materials, and to really try and put them in the context of China and Chinese nature conservation. The current applications, as you can see there are 2 that are really close to being evaluated by the EAGLE due next month, and another 20 plus sites which are in the pipeline. And also note there, this relates to one of the questions, that with the COVID-19, we've also adjusted the assurance requirements and postponed site visits, for example. And this is, again, where we've had to adapt in this circumstance, just one area where COVID is impacting our work. There's a list of kind of the top 10 under review by the Eagle, and some of the lessons learned. Good coordination before Zoom meetings, I think, is one that we are all struggling with, this global communications. But I think that this really highlights the fact that the Green List criteria and indicators really do need localization, which is the word used here in China. That's translation, not just of the language, but of the concepts as well, to make sure that they match the context, but they're also consistent globally with the intent of the Green List standard, that there's no watering down. Here, lesson in China, that the promotion of the Green List is extremely important, and then matching the Green List criteria into existing assessment methodologies, seeing where the gaps are, finding out what other tools and what other ways can help cover these gaps in the Green List standard. And just a message from Professor Lee, you're all welcome to work with China on collaboration for more effective protected areas. And we will have dedicated events at the CBD COP hosted by the National Forest and Grassland Administration in China on the Green List efforts, and you're all welcome there as well. Thank you very much.
Thanks, James. We will move along quickly because we are behind time. So if I could just ask all the speakers coming up, please try very hard to keep to your allotted time, because I do want to keep some time for questions at the end. The next speaker is Yusuf Didu, talking about Africa. So can we hand over the microphone and the control of the slides, please, to Yusuf for Africa.
Okay, it seems having a continued problem accessing Africa. Yusuf has dropped from the panel. Could we jump to Thierry with France and Europe, please, while we reconnect Yusuf?
Okay, thanks. Yep.
So can you hear me?
Very well, Thierry. If you could put your camera and share your screen, that would be great.
Yeah, I will share my screen. I have some trouble with my video camera. Just a moment, please.
Okay.
Can you see the screen now?
Parfait.
Yes, we can. Thanks, Thierry.
Excellent. Thanks. Yeah. Good morning and afternoon, everybody. My name is Thierry Lefebvre. I've been involved in implementing the Green List in France since 2013 at the IUCN French Committee. And I will share with you briefly some feedback on the implementation of the Green List in France with some reference on the European context. I'll start with Europe. So 3 European countries have committed to the Green List, the third phase of the Green List in 2014. It was called the pilot phase from Spain, Italy, and France mainly. And as border countries, they have developed strong cooperation to adapt the indicators on a regional scale and to also identify some potential transboundaries application between themselves. In 2016, we have a very interesting step, the Barcelona Convention, which is a regional sea convention for the Mediterranean, recognized the Green List as a flagship initiative to improve, to strengthen the quality of management of protected areas, marine protected areas in this case. And it's a very important political recognition, in fact, because it concerns 22 Mediterranean countries. And as you may know, Mediterranean is a biodiversity hotspot, so it's a very important site for conservation. In 2018, we had a lot of experts from 18 countries participating in a project, in a live project in Europe, to adapt the Green List indicators to the European networks of protected areas called Natura 2000. We also launched new applications in this framework. Yeah. And since this year, we have been developing a French-speaking country network to facilitate exchange of best practice between site managers, but also experts involved in the Green List. And I will tell you more about it at the end of my presentation. But what we can see from these different examples very shortly is that the European countries have seen the Green List as a means of cooperating together to improve, to strengthen networks of protected areas. So it's something quite interesting, in fact. I will be more focused now on the French case. In France, we have already a long history with a green list, in fact, in 2012. I will not obviously discuss in detail of this slide, just to tell you that we had 3 important stages, in fact, in the implementation of a green list at national level. So first, we started by creating, as the other countries, an eagle in Paris. And in 2014, we tested the indicators on 5 protected areas as an experiment, in fact. And then we had a second phase, a second stage from 2016 during the development phase at global level. We have improved mainly Oregon by new internal regulation with the integration of new members in the group. And we also have launched a second generation of candidates with a greater attention, diversity of protected areas categories. And now from 2019-2020, we are now entering in a more systematic phase, which opens up to conserved areas, or UICN, and pay attention and priority to protected areas which need support to progress through the green list. I will just make some focus on this aspect. So if we consider the main factors, the main drivers that have motivated the managers and also the networks of protected and conserved areas at national level, we can see that they are very complementary. For example, for the site managers in the left part of the slide, it's the international recognition of the work that has been considered, exactly like in the previous presentation in Australia, and also the sharing of experiences between the sites, so from site to site. Yeah. And at national level, for the networks of protected or conserved areas, PCAs, it was seen as an opportunity to measure progress towards Aichi Target 11 and to contribute also to the development of a monitoring system for protected areas. We have not until now such system in France, and the Green List standards have been very useful to develop it, to start developing it, in fact. We also use the Green List standards and indicators on governance. It was quite important to develop this system. So we can see that there is a lot of different benefits we can have through the Green List implementation from the local sites until the national level. What is exactly the goal that we wanted to promote in France? It was exactly to create a dynamic of continuous improvement for both protected and conserved areas. Yeah. So you can see in this graph exactly the scheme. We wanted that register sites maintain the performance, not just access, have an access to a green list, but also maintain this quality of governance and management. And at the same time, committing new sites to benefit from the green listed site, technical support, management, and this is clearly the main priority that we had from the beginning, in fact. And in the long term, we wish to widely promote the green list to create a ripple effect for all the protected and conserved areas at national level, at least. Yeah. So, in fact, like any other country, we have implemented an eagle, and maybe the main originality of the French eagle is that 4-part system. In fact, we have the eagle itself with 15 independent experts. Most of them are scientists, geographers, anthropologists, ecologists. We have also 40 associate members. They're managers of green listed sites, representatives of different PCS networks, and they mainly act as mentors for the new candidates. Yeah. And the third part is about the technical support that has been provided until now by IUCN French committee staff. I mean, organizing meetings, site visits, finding mentors also. And the last part is major donors that we have to support the green list activities. First of all, the Ministry of Ecology, Foreign Affairs, and some private foundation also. Just a brief overview about the protected areas in France. We have nearly 6,000 protected areas at national level, covering at least 30% of the territory. And it's quite complex. In fact, we have a wide variety of tools, 20 different categories of protected areas with 6 administrative levels from local to international. So it's very complicated, in fact. So the challenge for us and to the development of a green list at national level was to take into account this diversity of protected areas, but also of territories, as you can see on the right part of the screen. We have mainland France, but also overseas territories in the Pacific, also in Atlantic. So we have to pay attention to this diversity also of ecological and geographical context. Yeah. So we have now 14 green listed sites and 10 new applications this year. You can see the green dots for the new application, and we are now working to improve the representativeness of this network to be really a sample of the diversity of the country. As you can see, we have few protected areas with private and indigenous governance in France. We more or less have the same observation for many European countries, and the majority have centralized and shared governance for type A and B. And similarly, the category 4 is largely dominant in the most Western European countries, in France also, obviously. So new nomination for the next years will be mainly focused on category 1A, 1B, wilderness areas, and also paying attention and considering the conserved areas, the UICN, as a priority, clearly, in the future. About the geographic distribution on ecosystem, we can see also that most of the sites are in mainland France in Europe, but in the future, obviously, a priority will be given to overseas regions, in the Pacific in particular. And the ecosystem are fairly distributed, in fact, but we have also to pay more attention to the most threatened, like marine, coastal ecosystem, and obviously wetlands. I would like very, very briefly to share with you some results of a survey that we did this year with all of the green listed site managers. And as you can see on the graph, the level of satisfaction with the process is very high, with an important image benefit for the notoriety of the site due to the high mediatization at national but also global level. And about the site performance, we can see that thanks to the Green List standard, the great progress has been made on fair governance, the component 1, and effective management, the component 3. Yeah, so in particular, we could clarify 3 criteria: the decision-making process, monitoring systems, and ecosystem services evaluation. Among the main expectations for the future, the site managers want to develop a communication strategy to ensure follow-up to maintain the performance. It's very key, and to share best practices. And as a concrete application of this system to share best practices and experience, we are developing now a Green List Francophone network between 10 countries with more than 80 experts at global level, to help the implementation of a green list in the French-speaking countries, supporting creation of legal and highlighting also successes at international events. Obviously, the next one is the World Conservation Congress in Marseille. So we are now entering in a new dimension, that of cooperation, and I think that's really a keyword for the next few years. So thanks so much for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Thierry. Thanks very much for a really interesting presentation, and also for keeping to time. We'll move on now to Africa. Yusuf, if you're there, can you unmute and start your...
Hello.
Hi.
Okay. Hello, can you...
presentation.
Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, we can. Yep, that's fine.
Okay.
Do you have your slides, Yusuf?
Yes. Can I share my screen?
Please do.
James?
There's nothing showing up as yet, Yusuf. It says you've started screen sharing, but we can't actually see anything.
Oh, sorry. Wait a minute, please.
If not, I can just share a couple of the slides, Yusuf, if that's okay.
You hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Is okay now?
Yes, if you go to full screen, it's okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay. I just give you a summary concerning the implementation of the Green List in Africa. And I just focus on this map. You see on this map, we start the Green List process in Africa at 2015. And 2015, we start at the first country, Benin. And in Benin, when we start the process, at the beginning of the process, we have many stakeholders, local communities association, protected areas management, and local NGO also. After the Benin, we start the process in Côte d'Ivoire. In Côte d'Ivoire, it is important to notice that the two protected areas engaged in the Green List process are World Heritage Site. And it is the same case also in Benin. In Benin, we work on W National Park. W National Park is a part of a transboundary World Heritage Site between Benin, Burkina Faso, and Niger. And in our strategy, we start at the World Heritage Site because normally in the process to inscribe a protected areas in the World Heritage Site, this site need to have the best practices concerning management. That's why we think that it's important that all African World Heritage Sites need to be green listed. That's why we start in Africa, especially in West Africa, we start protected areas which are in the green list. And in Benin and Côte d'Ivoire, and also Madagascar, these countries are already established their eagles. And the big challenge on this country is that we notice that usually there is a strong turnover of staff. We start the work of a manager. We work with him maybe 1 or 2 years, and we have another manager. That's why it is important for us usually to share the Green List process and to build the capacity already for the newcomer. In Central Africa, we just organized a workshop with all the conservation actors to discuss about Green List process. But now we are discussing with the authorities of protected areas to choose maybe the best protected areas to engage them in the Green List. Globally in Africa, the big challenges is in the eagles. In the eagles group, we notice that there are more men than women. And in the process, we try more to engage more women, but sometimes it's not easier because we notice that in Africa, we haven't many women working on protected areas, especially on government protected areas. This is a big challenge for us, and we are on the way to engage more, especially the young professional, to engage them more in eagles. In Africa also, we think that one of the benefits without to improve the governance or the management of protected areas, Green List is also an option in Africa to valorize our culture, because in Green List we have opportunity to identify and also to think how to more protect and valorize culture, because in Africa, culture is very important because culture can help also to protect value, natural value, especially biodiversity. In Africa also, we have globally, you see 5 green listed sites, 2 in Egyptia and 3 in Kenya. But it's important to notice that when I come back on this map also, it's important to notice that the process is dynamic, because each year we notice that we have new country engaged in the Green List. But the big challenge is how to maintain in a long time a critical group, a critical maybe manager, protectees, and conserved manager in the system, because usually we have the turnover of the staff is very, very strong. This is a very, very big issue for us to continue the process. And finally, it's important also to notice that in some countries, as Côte d'Ivoire, we have some actors which are very engaged to finance the process. In Côte d'Ivoire, for example, when we start the process, the DRZ support all the meeting during the beginning, during 2 years, the 2017 and 2018. And we think that this is a good example for the other countries. We are sure that if we want to develop more the Green List, we need to have many actors, not only scientific actors, the university or the research center, but we need also to have actors which are very engaged to finance the process. Okay, thank you for your kind attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Yusuf. And I think now we have the Middle East. Tamer, and I understand we have a short video on one of the sites, El Shuf, and a short presentation about Ras Mohammed, the other listed site. Is that correct? Can we, are you there, Tamer? Can you turn on your microphone and camera and presentation? Thanks. Hi, how are you?
Fine, fine. Thank you, everybody. Do you hear me? Okay.
Very well.
Okay. So my name is Khaled Allah. I'm working in the Ministry of Environment in Egypt, and I'm the chair of the EAGLE in the Middle East and West Asia. And as a chair, I will not give you a presentation. Instead, I will show you at the beginning a short movie about the experience we gained during declaring one of the protected area in our region, which Arz al-Shof Natural Reserve in Lebanon. And after this movie in Arabic with English subtitle, and after that, I will give you some short remarks about the impact of declaring one protected area in my country, in Egypt, which is Ras Mohammed National Park. So let's, because of the time limitation, let's start with the movie. James, please, if you share the movie with the attendants. Thank you.
The movie is coming, Nadine.
Okay.
I can start with the Shuf video as
yes, that's the one, please.
Yeah.
Excellent.
محمية أرز الشوف الطبيعية هي من أكبر
So this movie is showing for you the Arz al-Shof Natural Reserve and the process of declaring this protected area on the green list. You will see some shots about our meeting there with the stakeholders during our evaluation visit, and also it documents how much this process is really having a lot of effort, either from the protected area or from the evaluation team as well, because when you plan to have your protected area on the green list, you need to fill the application form, and then it goes to the EAGLE, and after the EAGLE goes through all the criteria and validate the protected area is really fulfill all the criteria and indicator, then we gave us as our opinion for the evaluation of the site, and then it's after that, after the agreement from the green list standing committee, the final decision is taken by declaring this protected area on the green list. So during this process of evaluating Arz al-Shof, we decide to document all the process we are doing while evaluating the site by having all the document, reviewing everything in the files, go through all the means of verification they present in their file about the reserve, and doing some meetings and interview with stakeholders everywhere in the villages around the protected area to ensure that the protected area is really meet all the criteria. And the movie, as you can see, it show all the stakeholders consultation that either the park did before our arrival to Lebanon, or after that while we are doing the evaluation of the site and meeting a lot of stakeholders. So I think one of the success we have in this evaluation of protected area in our region is to having such kind of movie really summarize what we did there. And even as you can see, we go in the field with all the stuff and the stakeholders to be sure that what is written in the files and what is existing, the means of verification is really on the ground. So we check everything. It's not like we evaluated from our desk, but we go even to the field, and you can see our meeting with a lot of authorities, stakeholders, asking everybody, women, local community, youth, university, everybody about the protected area and what exists in the file. So as you can see, it's intensive evaluation process, and we really got a lot of experience from doing this, because it was one of actually the first evaluation field visit for one of the protected area in our region. So really we got a lot of experience and a lot of nice moments with there, and we all were happy by declaring such a very fantastic protected area on the green list. Okay, so after we have this short movie, I will share with you some short remarks about the impact of having your protected area on the green list. One of the protected area we declared in 2018 is on the green list. It was Ras Muhammad National Park. It was also one of the protected area that we declared on the green list while we are having the green list celebration at Ras Muhammad National Park during COP14 at Sharm el-Sheikh. And after we declaring Ras Muhammad on the green list, I witnessed a lot of impact and success of having this park on the green list. Some of this impacts and positive impact is that the authority in Sharm el-Sheikh city, which is nearby Ras Muhammad, after attending this green list celebration, they decided to also doing their best to turn Sharm el-Sheikh as a city as a whole as a green city, and they took a lot of steps toward that by improving the infrastructure in the city, trying to turn it into more greener, and also they managed to get fund from GEF, Global Environmental Facility, to a huge project to facilitate the turn of Sharm el-Sheikh city from normal touristic city into a green city. Also, the Diving Center Association at Sharm el-Sheikh city is also was amazed by all this media and publicity of having Ras Muhammad on the green list, and then they decided to also to introduce to Sharm el-Sheikh what they call a green fence. It is an initiative really seeking for sustainable diving activity inside the park, and also this really help in reducing the negative impact of tourism on the park. Also, by declaring the Ras Muhammad on the green list, the Ministry of Environment really appreciate having such kind of prestige globally, and they decided to have a new plan to develop all the protected area in Egypt to really have some of them as a future candidate to be on the green list, and even our president we managed to bring his attention to that, and now we have a strong governmental commitment to improve all of the protected area in Egypt by declaring one protected area on the green list, and now we are doing our best to have a new protected area on board. Also, the local community nearby or inside Ras Muhammad providing services for the tourism, they try to upgrade their services to be more greener, trying to minimize their impact on the environment in Ras Muhammad, and they try to use a lot of greener techniques and methodology in providing the services. So it's also really helping reducing the impact there on the natural resources in Ras Muhammad. Not only this, but also the local community in one of the protected area north to Ras Muhammad, we call it Nabak protected area. The local community there send their request to the government by asking them to turn Nabak protected area to be on the green list, and also they doing some negotiation with the government to turn their village, which exists inside this Nabak protected area, to be a green village as well. So really, this is the major impact that I witnessed of having Ras Muhammad on the green list, and I think this is also happening in a lot of protected area in the region, but the time is limited to give you the flavor of everything. But at least having one protected area on the green list is really, I really witnessed that it really have a huge impact on a lot of aspects. It's not only the conservation of biodiversity, but also on the municipal level and on the local community level. So I hope everybody really to consider having the protected area, some of their protected area on the green list, to also witness such kind of success we have in Egypt and in our region. So this is my presentation for you, and thank you for giving the time to present this, and I'm ready for any question. Thank you.
Thanks, Khaled, and thanks for those observations on the benefits that you saw. I think now we will go to California to Sue, that example. So I think Sue Wells is starting, and then Michael from California. Are you ready there, Sue? Are you able to?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, and we can see you.
Share screen. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Can you see the screen? Could someone confirm?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Yes, we can. Yep.
Thank you. So, hi, I'm. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry. There we are. Sue Wells. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and bonjour aux francophones. I've seen there are several. I'm sorry we're not able to speak in French. I'm on the Green List Standards Committee, and I also coordinate the WCPA Marine Task Force on Management Effectiveness and the Green List. And we just felt that it might be useful to talk a little bit about MPAs in particular. Obviously, as you've seen, the Green List, the standard applies to the Green List, and the standard apply to all protected areas. So, oh, sorry, I'm having a slight problem with my screen. Oh, yeah. As you all know, I'm sure, particularly those of you involved with marine protected areas, there are just a few characteristics that are rather different from terrestrial protected areas. And I think it is worth bearing those in mind when we're looking at how marine protected areas can be assessed for the Green List. We've already had lots of examples, so it is perfectly feasible, but it is worth bearing it in mind. And of course, the main one is the fluidity and the sort of dynamic nature of the marine environment with its currents and planktonic larvae, and the fact that it's very difficult to manage an MPA without looking very hard at the surrounding influences. Sorry, there's going to be dog barking at the moment. I'm sorry about this. The other difference is, of course, that the seas, apologies, I'm not very soundproof room. The seas are very much open access. It's very difficult putting boundaries in and enforcing them. There are a lot of challenges associated with that. And rather associated with that is that a large proportion of the ocean is actual high seas, areas beyond actual national jurisdiction, with marine protected areas starting to be established in these areas. And we are going to think hard about how those could be become eligible for the Green List. I also wanted to quickly mention fishing. Of course, there are extractive activities in terrestrial areas, but fishing as the last wild major capture harvest is a particular big issue in the marine environment, particularly as it's of such economic importance. And this has led to an enormous debate about multiple use versus no-take area, marine protected areas. And many of you know that there is quite a strong body of people who feel that for a MPA to qualify as a protected area, it should actually be no-take. The Green List allows for all types of marine protected areas, and this is something that you work through in applying the standard to a marine protected area. I think it's also just worth mentioning that stakeholders for a marine protected area are also often very, very wide ranging, coming from a much wider area than possibly many terrestrial areas. And then, of course, one of the major differences is that human beings were not aquatic animals. So actually doing the research and survey and monitoring requires a whole lot more equipment, skills, technology, and becomes a lot more expensive. And I think all this has partly contributed to the fact that we now have an enormous body of scientific literature, conservation literature, grey literature, not just scientific, about MPA specifically, that doesn't always link in very coherently with general protected area literature. And I think through the Green List, we might be able to get a bit more collaboration and coordination. Sorry, I was trying to change screens. There we are. So we already have at least 10 green listed marine protected areas. You can see the list of them there. And a large number now as candidate MPAs or considering green listing application. I think from the latest list that Nadine sent me, there are about 15 countries or 10 to 15 countries considering green listing of marine protected areas, and a lot of individual sites being looked at. As we've already heard, this sort of involves a huge range of different types of protected areas, which is particularly noticeable in the marine environment, where you have very large, enormous ones to very small ones. And I think Thierry's talk on the French system of the French work on green listing protected areas demonstrated that very well. The French are looking at all their sites across the board. One of the things that has caused a bit of confusion is that there are a number, as well as all the different tools that we can use for assessing management effectiveness, which we heard about in the previous 2 webinars in this series, and which have also been mentioned today. There are a number of other specific MPA tools or documents or guidelines. We're hoping to have a further webinar on MPA specifically when we can go into more detail on this, but I just wanted to flag up a few here. There's a document called Applying IUCN's Global Conservation Standards to MPAs. This is not really a standard in itself, but it's a synthesis of good practice, and it covers all the principles that are found on the Green List criteria and standard. It also covers some of the key principles that have come up through the scientific literature about what you need to have for planning a good individual site or a network of MPAs. The Blue Park system, it's an award system. So rather like the Green List, it provides an incentive and global recognition of a site, but it uses a rather different evaluation system. It's sort of slightly more external evaluation system with a smaller number of criteria. It's valuable, but if you're a Blue Park already, you're probably a long way towards getting on the Green List. So it's certainly worth looking at, but do bear in mind it is a different approach. There's a new initiative called the MPA Guide, which has just been put out as a sort of graphic booklet. That's more of a categorization system, which it identifies the different levels of protection and stages of development of an MPA. So it's going to be very useful in looking at how well we're doing in actually creating levels of regulation for a protected area, but it's not an assessment system. And then, as we've heard of in some of the other presentations, and has also come up, I've noticed in some of the questions, there are a number of regional initiatives. The Coral Triangle has a system with an assessment and a listing system. And Thierry's already mentioned the Barcelona Convention. Cartagena Convention also has the Spore Protocol special areas of protection. And these are all steps, if you like, on the way to will help you become a green listed site. So they are complementary, but they're not the same thing, and probably need a bit more exploration. There will be a talk about these different systems at the IMCC, which is a conference in August, which is also now online. So I hope you can get in touch with me about that if you're interested. So finally, MPA networks are of particular importance in the marine environment, of course. As I mentioned, you can't really manage an MPA individually on its own. You've got to take account of what's going around it. And so this idea of establishing national or local or regional systems of MPAs was adopted very early on and led to the IUCN WCPA guidelines on this in 2008. Of course, this year we've also had the broader guidelines on connectivity produced by WCPA, which look at terrestrial situation as well. But it's been a long-standing recognition for MPAs that this is the way we want to go. I'm sure most of you are aware of the key principles, so there's not time to go into those there. And the interesting aspect of it, which we'll hear more about in a moment, is that as well as the individual sites being managed, the individual protected areas within a network being managed, of course, this leads to management of all the area between the individual protected areas as the system or network. And so you get a much greater scaling up of the whole management area. So I think just to keep moving ahead, I'm going to hand over now to Mike Espro, who's going to introduce the California MPA network. This is the first time a network or system of protected areas has been assessed for the Green List, and he'll explain how they've gone about adapting the criteria and indicators for that. So can we hand over to Mike?
Yeah, thank you, Sue. Good morning, everyone from California. This is Mike Escrow. And James, if you can share my slides, please, that would be great. I assume everyone can hear me okay.
Turn your webcam on. If
so yeah, sorry, I'm having webcam difficulties on this this laptop I'm using. So unfortunately, it'll just be slides and no video.
Okay, not a problem. Thanks.
All right. Yeah. Hello again, everyone from California. My name's Mike Escrow, and I work as the Marine Ecosystems Program Manager at the California Ocean Protection Council. I'm really excited to talk to you, building on what Sue just said about California's network of marine protected areas, and our effort to add the MPA network to the IUCN Green List. And just by way of introduction, the Ocean Protection Council, OPC, serves as the California Governor's Advisor on Ocean and Coastal Policy, and we're the state's policy lead for the Marine Protected Area Network. And I want to point out that we work hand in hand with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, which is the state's managing agency for MPAs. And my colleague Steve Wirtz is joining us today. He's here as a panelist. As a senior environmental scientist with the department, he leads up the MPA management program for the whole state. So together, OPC and the Department of Fish and Wildlife are serving as implementing partners for this Green List effort. So a little background here. In 2012, California completed the implementation of an MPA network that really is globally significant. It's of unprecedented size and scale. Our network spans the state's entire 1,100-mile coastline, all the way from the California-Oregon border in the north down to the California-Mexico border in the south. And the network is composed of 124 individual MPAs that have varying levels of protection. Altogether, our network protects 16% of our state waters, which stretch out 3 nautical miles from shore. And 9% of our state waters are fully protected by no-take marine reserves. Those no-take reserves really form the backbone of our network. California's network was designed according to scientific guidelines. So for example, size requirements help to ensure that our MPAs would protect a variety of important habitats, such as kelp forests and rocky intertidal areas. And spacing guidelines between MPAs ensured that those MPAs would be ecologically connected, mostly through dispersal of larvae. And importantly, the actual design of the MPAs was done by regional stakeholder groups, but that design was done in accordance with the science guidance that I just mentioned. And now that we've achieved implementation, our MPAs are adaptively managed as a cohesive statewide network. And management in California is guided by explicit conservation goals that are specified in the MPA network's founding legislation, which is the Marine Life Protection Act, and its management plan, which is the master plan for MPA. And in that master plan, you'll see that MPA management encompasses 4 focal areas: outreach, policy, monitoring, and enforcement, all of which we know are essential for meeting the network's conservation goals. And California is currently preparing for the first formal 10-year management review of the MPA network coming up in 2022. And OPC and the Department of Fish and Wildlife are still building out exactly what the scope and structure of that review is going to look like. But in general, we see very strong alignment between our management priorities and the Green List standard, which, as was mentioned earlier, benchmarks things like good governance, sound design and planning, effective management, and of course, successful conservation outcomes. So next slide, please, James. Thank you. And this alignment is really what motivated our interest in the Green List. And we're very excited to be the first multi-site application to the Green List. We've assembled a diverse group of 17 experts to serve as our eagle. This group includes scientists, such as ecologists and social scientists, but also tribal representatives, also ocean business owners, both commercial and recreational fishermen. So we're really proud of the diversity of voices that's represented on our eagle. The Eagle has completed its adaptation of the Green List standard. And interestingly, the Eagle didn't need to make any changes to the indicators in order to tailor them to be relevant to ocean and coastal environments. I think that really speaks to the broad applicability of the standard to all the different types of jurisdictions that we've seen presented here today. However, the Eagle did, of course, need to adapt the indicators to make them more relevant to the network context. In the next few weeks, I'm excited to let you know that the Eagle is anticipated to formally approve movement of the MPA network from applicant phase into candidate phase. And at that point, the Eagle will begin to review the evidence submitted by the implementing partners to demonstrate compliance with the Green List standard. And that evidence, we're working on those self-assessments right now. The evidence will be presented at the network, regional, and individual site levels, depending on what the Eagle what we provide and then what the Eagle requests from us in turn. But really, we're looking at a situation where each indicator does need to be met for each individual site. And I wanted to highlight a few key issues here in California that are already bubbling up for us. We know the Eagle is going to need to consider these as they move through the candidate phase indicators. First of all, I mentioned, each site needs to meet every indicator, but when evaluating the evidence, it's going to take some thought to figure out how the Eagle should apply that standard to a statewide network that is more than the sum of its parts. It's not just 124 individual sites, cohesive, ecologically connected network, but it includes such a huge variety of habitats and environmental stressors, and as Sue mentioned earlier, a very wide variety of stakeholders all up and down our coast. Second, California's indigenous tribes we recognize them as the original stewards of our coast and ocean, and we really want to make sure that the Eagle centers their voices in this process. And finally, this MPA network is relatively young, right? And ecological changes we know take time to observe, especially in temperate ecosystems like we have here in California. So it'll take some thought to work through how the Eagle should use monitoring data, because we have both baseline and long-term MPA monitoring data and other information streams, such as stakeholder input, such as knowledge, to evaluate the extent to which the MPA network is really delivering on those effective conservation outcomes in accordance with the conservation goals and the natural values that we've already identified. Next slide, please, James. So just a quick conclusion here. California is very excited to be joining the global Green List community. We look forward to sharing knowledge with other jurisdictions. Still pretty early on in this process, but we feel we have a lot to offer, but also very clearly, even just for me today, listening to these presentations, a lot to learn. So thank you very much for your attention. Steve and I will be happy to answer any questions that you might have, and both of our emails are up there. So if you'd like to reach out to us individually, please do so. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Thank you very much, Michael and Sue, for that. And it really is good to see that the Green List is being applied across a wide range of different environments, including marine and terrestrial and freshwater. So it is being really tested in a variety of different biomes. We've got the final presentation now from Colombia. Paula, if you're there, and then we will, if people are able to stay on, so apologies that the technical problems have meant we've gone a little over time, but we will stay and try and have a question and answer session. So I'll hand over to you now, Paula.
Thanks, Mark, and thank you, everyone. Good morning at this side of the world. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can. Thanks.
Perfect. So what I'm trying to do through this presentation is just to take you through the journey that Colombia has been taking as well for the past 9 years already within the global initiative, and also focusing on the lessons learned from this journey specifically. So since we were not really sure at the beginning who would be in this call, we just put this pictures for you to know that we are a big team of hope, as we call it, in the country that is kind of helping people going through this process and keeping all the processes alive. So Sandra Valenzuela, who is the president of the Eagle, she is also going to join us a little bit. And we are also a team of people between the National Parks Authority and WWF, who we call ourselves the implementation or the support group, who are actually well, taking in on all the responsibilities that imply the implementation of the initiative in the country. So the journey, as you can see, this is just for you to know, starts back in 2011. This journey starts specifically the National Park Service, Julia Miranda, who's actually the deputy chair of WCPA. She, well, intended to take the first pilots and the proofs on the Green List standard in the country, which actually resulted in a lot of interest from a lot of experts as well, from different disciplines. This resulted as well in the establishment of the experts group, the Eagle, in 2012 specifically. If you may well remember, that was the year of the Jeju World Conservation Congress, where also the Green List initiative was sort of portrayed and taken across many, many other countries. Second step, back in that same year as well, was the first application of certain criteria in prioritized areas. That prioritization came from actual management effectiveness tools, harmonizations between the standard and what was applied already in the country from 2004 systematically. Out of these areas, the country managed to include 3 specific areas which were recognized with the launch of the program in the World Parks Congress in 2015. From that moment on, the efforts were concentrated in generating what we call the improvement plans, which what actually they do is to identify gaps and needs to improve performance based on the Green List standard. Those were actually ready in 2016, but of course many of the activities were implemented during those years. And in 2017 and 2018, we increased the excellence activities, including the standard adaptation for the country, because that had not happened before. This is actually the standard in its 1.1 version. As you know, that has changed over the years, and that was ready well within that time gap. And also something that has been really, really important for us in the country, and is that the Green List has helped us and has encouraged us more than anything to actually try and do governance assessments. This has been really important for us, as I mentioned, and that has been one of the main results of the Green List implementation beyond the Green List itself. So that also was taken or advanced hand in hand with new candidacies. Actually, we have a couple of those. Actually, one of them was already granted in the past couple of months, which is the Malpedo Sanctuary, another MPA in the country. So as I'm going to show you in a little bit, we already have half of our green listed sites as marine protected areas. And we are in the phase of waiting for the next candidacy to be approved and assessed, etc., which is the Chingasa National Park. This is where we are now. This is 2020. Of course, this is all very summarized, just so I could make this presentation, but lots has happened in between. We can discuss a little bit further about that, especially regarding how all this evolution has given us a lot of lessons learned. What is going to happen now? So what's next, basically? We are, of course, in this implementation phase of the initiative worldwide. with some additional funds and projects that we're jointly implementing with IUCN, we are planning to have a couple of Amazonian protected areas to be run through this standard, including one Ramsar site, and as well, and additionally, another local protected areas systems being analyzed through the standards. So yet again, we don't know if that's going to be a multi-site exercise or if it's just going to be one protected area. But the most important thing is that, again, we have other categories, other conservation measures being run by the standard, and this is going to be a breakthrough for sure in the months or years to come. So this is just to show you that we had our processes within these two sort of global phases, one from 2011 to 2014, and the other one from 2015 right up till now. So as you can see, the three recognized areas in the first phase are still going through the recognition. This is actually the year where we have to renovate that recognition. So we have to go all over again through the process. This is happening right now. So we expect that, well, anytime soon, we again can roll out all the process for all of them. And here we have, this is very special recognition for the Malpelo Sanctuary because it's actually a World Heritage Site and has been also awarded, well, recognized, certified with the standard, along with many other certifications. So this makes us very proud, and we expect that this is an example for many other marine protected areas, but also terrestrial, of course. This is the realm of the areas that have been recognized in Colombia. Just wanted to show you that, yeah, both of them are marine. The others are, well, basically encompass Andean ecosystems, but also are, both of them are close in the transition to the Amazonian area of the country and also the Pacific area of the country. So we have a lot of representation here still with a lot of gaps, but it is very, very good for us at least to know that we are increasing the standardized measurements of protected areas management effectiveness in this kind of ecosystem. So I was saying, and we are calling this connecting the dots because we are not conceiving management effectiveness without the governance piece. And we are talking about governance excellence as well. So yes, as while the interest in green listing sites is increasing in the country, also is the governance and perceived benefits assessment increasing as well. So we have developed a methodology that is quite successful in terms of this kind of measurement, or as we call it, the valuing of governance for management effectiveness. And that has been facilitated by the Green List. So that's what we want to highlight in this scenario. What has happened is basically that it has helped us think within the national policy instruments how protected area management effectiveness is quite linked to this governance piece. This has been assessed or approved in 3 different levels. So at the national level with all the national protected area system actors, also in 7 independent protected areas, of course, all the areas that you see recognized today, and also very important in one of the subsystems of protected areas in the country, which sits actually in the coffee growing area in Colombia. We are planning to do that more extensively in other areas like the Amazon and hopefully in the Eastern Tropical Pacific. Conversations are underway to actually manage to do that. So key learnings, just to quickly close this presentation. Actually, the Green List has helped Colombia in many, many ways. I've told you a little bit about some, but one I want to focus on. The guidelines to improve management effectiveness and planning is completely central to the learnings in this Green List process. So it's not just only about having areas recognized or certified. Is how we can actually improve our system, our planning, based on international standards. Has helped us strengthen the relations between public and private actors. There's a lot of interest also from private actors right now. And actually the running of the standard itself has helped us approach very many new and former actors that are key protected area management. Of course, this has promoted discussions and, well, try to see more clearly how the meeting of international commitments has been done in the country, of course, starting by Aichi Target 11, but going beyond it. So the idea is that also this discussion can fertilize the discussions on the post-2020 framework, and how has helped create options to be part of a network that is motivating, that recognizes and celebrates the conservation efforts of the teams in the area. So this is very important. The actual staff in the areas feel that their work is recognized through this field, and that's very encouraging. Has helped us further explore the link between good management and social equity, of course, through these governance assessments, but also from the application of the standard itself to see how we can actually improve those dialogues, those relationships that help the PACS management get better in time. So all that also take us to, well, governance and performance in a broader way. So just want to highlight, because I don't want to take a lot of your time, that the identification of key improvement actions to achieve excellence while doing the assessment has been a key and direct outcome of the Green List process, together with the other ones I just mentioned. It takes us to rethinking protected area management effectiveness as for not only evaluating, but trying to all the time achieve excellence. So that's one of the key pointers. And within the framework of both marine and terrestrial planning, this standardized rules of procedure contribute to a differentiated yet harmonized performance frameworks and good practices as well. So this is what we wanted to share. There's a lot of people that have been involved in this process, and we very, very much thank everyone in this constituency, IUCN partners, all the people at the National Park Service, but of course all the people that actually live from protected areas and that help their management on a daily basis. So thank you everyone, but mostly thank to all these partners and friends that have helped us reach this important recognition. And yes, please, if you have any questions and we can further share the experience of the certification, of the lessons learned, of the governance assessment, we will be more than happy to guide you through. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Paula, and thanks to everyone who's stayed on. I see we've still got more than 160 people here on board. One of the interesting things from Colombia is that they didn't feel that getting on the green list was the end of the question, that is meant that everything was perfect. So they followed on with the sites that have been put on the green list with developing an improvement plan that took the learning out of the work that the Eagle had done in the assessment and looked how they could take management even one step further forward. So that's really good to see. We've had the question and answer pad open, and there've been 57 questions put up there that have been all answered already. I haven't looked at all of the answers. Different people have contributed, and lots of questions have also been answered in the webinar, the chat box. But maybe if I can just put one question, and I don't necessarily want every presenter to answer, but perhaps if any presenters can have in their mind benefits that have come to their country or their site out of the Green List process that haven't already been highlighted in the presentations. Are there things that you would want to stress of how it's work for you, perhaps you could unmute your microphone and share those experiences. And if any of the participants have got some key questions they would like to put to participants now, if you could type them in the question and answer pad as well, and we can put those. Well, let's just take a few minutes. We won't have the full question time because I know we're well over, but first of all, if there are any benefits that presenters would like to highlight.
Hi, Yusuf here, please.
Yes, go ahead, Yusuf.
Okay, thank you, Professor Mark. I just want to focus on the strategy which we have in West and Central Africa to implement the Green List. We join Green List program to other IUCN program working on protected areas, especially biopharma. You know, in West and Central Africa, we have biopharma program working on the same protected areas as Green List program, and we join our program. It means when we decide to work in a country where biopharma have activities, we need first to use the IMET tool of biopharma to have just the first assessment of the site. And when we start the Green List in the same country, we use data, we use the evaluation from biopharma tool to also start the implementation of Green List. I think that it is very important to do it because usually we cannot, it's important to explain to the protected areas managers that there is a complementary between Green List and the other tools, not only IMET, but enhancing our heritage tool and the other tool which we use to assess the protected areas management. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Yusuf. But I think Khaled, you have, I'm just working on people who put their cameras on as wanting to respond. So I'll pass to Khaled now. Can you unmute, please, Khaled?
Yes. So as I explained in my presentation about the benefits of having and declaring, but also in the other side that we declare at Wadi Khitan, I can also share with you some of the benefits there, where we have nearby Wadi Khitan, World Heritage Site and the Green List, another site which is Jabal Katrani, and it's have the same fantastic fossilized old biodiversity in its territory, and because we declare Wadi Khitan on the Green List and also on the World Heritage Site, but this Green List declaration really accelerate the process of putting and preparing a file for Jabal Katrani to be declared as well on the World Heritage Site, and it's already sent to the UNESCO for that reason, and also because they think in the future to declare this site as well on the Green List, so they start to implement a new plan. They have a plan now for the site. They bump additional money to upgrade the infrastructure for ecotourism inside the site, and also the local community working in ecotourism, either in Wadi Khitan or Jabal Katrani, is really getting more and more benefits from this improvement in the management of the two sites. So actually, it's also having impact even in the process worldwide, like the World Heritage Site and UNESCO of the clearing site. So this is what I have from another site in Asia.
Okay, thanks, Khaled. Sue, I think Etienne and Paula.
I just wanted to follow on from Yusuf because I thought his point was just so important, given that this is a third webinar in the series where we started looking at all the different PAME assessment tools. And his point that if you start with one of the management effectiveness tools, you're then able to start, as it were, the green listing process, even if you're not actually an applicant, or, even if you've not signed up to the process. It's really, I think it is absolutely essential to start on that, and then you'll sort of part with it there. And that's how all these different processes link up. But there is kind of series of steps in this, and I think that's the sort of message that needs to be got across to the protected area community as a whole, because otherwise it does look quite confusing when people are presented with a lot of tools and then the green list and the actual ultimate standard that you're trying to reach. So I thought the way Yusuf put that was very useful indeed. And the other thing I think will be great, and what Khalid's just been talking about is a good example, if we can really start to document now and make available these benefits. I think there are a lot of green listed sites now where we're already starting to see the benefits of it, and a series of case studies demonstrating those benefits would be really useful. I know everybody's got far too much work, but perhaps something to be thought about for the future.
I think, yes, Sue, thank you. I think it's the time now to document all these benefits in one report or a paper produced by IUCN, because as you see from the presentation, we have a lot of benefits at the different scales and different perspectives. So I think it's the time now to really document all these benefits, because it will be really encourage other managers from other sides to really join the green list.
Okay, Etienne, sorry.
Yeah, thanks back, and thanks everyone for the great presentations. I just wanted to pick on one or two things and put together. Yusuf mentioned that the two sites in Cote d'Ivoire or Senegal are also World Heritage sites. And that reminded me of a question that my wife asked me, how is the green list different from all these other Ramsar designated sites, World Heritage sites, and things like that? And the key thing there that I just responded to her is the designation. There is a difference between designation and actually green listing, in the sense that the green list process is an active operational process where the protected area has to demonstrate effectiveness of their conservation efforts to these 4 principles that IUCN has developed. And not only that, there is also this assurance layer on top of it, where there is a system, there are people, qualified people, and very knowledgeable people who the Eagles do the evaluation with their very good knowledge, and at the same time there is this evaluation of to ensure that the process meets certain levels of good practice and so on, and also meets the requirements defined by IUCN standards as well. So there is this there are added processes, and it's an active operational process. The green list process is not just a destination and then, okay, it's listed and we're fine. No, it's active. They have to renew their commitment. They have to continually indicate that they meet these requirements all throughout the process.
Okay, thanks for that. Look, we're 45 minutes over time, so I think we might be time to pull this webinar to a close. Just a reminder that this is the third in a series of 4 webinars. The 4th webinar will be tomorrow. and it will be looking at management effectiveness data at sort of national, regional and global scales, and how we might use this information at those sorts of scales. That'll be starting at 11 a.m. UTC or GMT. And the registration for that, if you look at the search for vital sites, you'll find the program there, and you can register if you haven't already. There's about 450 people registered for that so far. So that'll be the last of what's been a really successful series. I just want to thank all of the presenters and particularly to thank all of the participants. So we had, I think, a peak of around 280 people on the webinar, lots of active questions. And I'm not sure, I'll talk to James and Nadine later. We might be able to check if there's some way that we can make sure that all the questions were addressed and respond to those. And of course, a recording of it will be available. And I might just hand it back to James for any last words that you've got. And thanks for everyone for staying with us.
No, thanks very much, Mark. Thanks everybody. Thanks especially, I just want to call out Paula. It's very, very early, and to our Australian colleagues, it's very, very late, and everyone in the middle. So that's great. Zoom is what it is, and so thanks for your patience there. It is always worth trying to get diversity. We do have people from all different parts of the world joining, and that in itself is an achievement and something that we should be exploring more, celebrating more. And if the Green List can help bring people together, give a platform, give access to folks who don't often get a chance, then that's really worthwhile. So just a final thanks again to the organizers of this series, and to note on behalf of Nadine and myself, thanks again. We'll share the recording, we'll share the questions, we'll share the PowerPoints as well, and follow up. We've got all your email addresses, list of participants. All the information will be there, and please visit our beta website, IUCN, www.iucngreenlist.org. Give us any comments, and as that website develops, more and more resources will be available, and you can find all the questions and answers you need. Just a final shout out to Etienne. Thanks very much for joining from Assurance Services International, and just the partnerships that we have in the Green List. It's not just the conservation community, but the kind of the assurance level is really bringing a lot of extra value. So just again, thanks Etienne for your time and your dedication, in particular to the Green List in Africa. So on that note, thanks very much, and stay in touch, and stay safe.
Thank you, everyone. I will now close the webinar.